afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ILX Group and Insight to PRINCE2 webinar with myself. My name's Nadia, and I am the Consumer Sales Team Leader here at the ILX Group. And talking you through our PRINCE2 training today is our PRINCE2 Senior Trainer, Cyril Colkin. First of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about ILX and who we are. So the ILX Group sits under the Prerequisites umbrella, who provide project management, systems integration services. We're a group specialising in people, processes, training and communications systems integration. Now we have offices over here in the UK, also over in the Middle East and Australia. Now you'll see on the diagram there are 4 divisions within the Prerequisites group. And the ILX Group form the recruitment, consultancy and technology solutions arm of the business. So who are we? We are the first training organisation to provide digital learning for PRINCE2. We also provide instructor-led training, and we also offer consultancy and implementation. We were founded in 1998, and we are the global leaders in the provision of project, program and IT service management training. So our vision, we have over 100 trainers. As I mentioned earlier, we are the first training organisation to accredit the PRINCE2 e-learning training. We've also been providing PRINCE2 training for over 28 years now. We're also the owners of Prince2.com. We also are very proud to hold an ACO and ATO status, and we have learners in over 120 countries worldwide. So what are we going to cover today? Well, first of all, we're going to look at what PRINCE2 is, the benefits of using PRINCE2, the qualifications and accreditations that we are able to provide, and also the training options as well. I'm just going to pass you over now to Cyril, who is going to run through the PRINCE2 course and the elements itself. Just bear with me one moment till I swap the microphone over.
Okay, that's not good. Right, I think that's okay. I hope everyone can hear me. Okay, so I'll say how do you do to you all. I'm Cyril Colkin from the ILX Group. I'm going to start off by getting you to do something rather than me. I want you to look at these 2 questions that are on your screens at the moment. And the first one is, how do you measure the success of a project? And the second one is, why do projects fail? Now, what I'm going to do is ask you for the answers to these questions. If you would type in, I'll be able to see what you put. And the whole point of the presentation is to focus on how to be successful when running projects and how to get over the standard sort of pitfalls that people have when they run. Like they overrun, they haven't got resources, the bad planning, all the rest of it. I want to know what you want. Don't be too critical on yourselves there if you're being on projects that fail. However, do tell me what generally you feel about those 2 topics. So I'm going to pause for myself for about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes while you start typing in the answers. Now, the idea of this presentation is by me knowing how you measure the success of a project and what your experience is and why projects fail, I'll be able to demonstrate to you how Prince can make both of those things happen. Not failing, but overcoming the problems of failure. And that'll convince you then. It's more of, don't do it as it says in the book, you do it because it actually works. So go ahead, start typing in questions. There's one question come up at the moment, how it meets the KPI set for the project. Has the project achieved its goals within the required time frame? All sorts of things like that. Yeah, so fire away. I think there's about 50 of you out there also, so I'm expecting quite a few questions and sorts of things about success. Why do projects fail? Basically think, if I came to your place of work or your workstation, and if I sat with you for a few minutes, I want you to demonstrate to me the success of a project you'd worked on. What sort of things would you show me and explain to me? And then also on the same basis, what pitfalls did you do, or were there any serious problems on the running of the project itself? So I'll let you a few of these questions come out now. We've got lack of buy-in, misunderstandings, stakeholders not involved, lots of questions. They're all good stuff this, so keep going. It sounds as though you all had a bit of experience of projects. They don't seem to always go to plan, but with PRINCE2 they will. I can assure you. Understanding resource needs, yeah, understanding requirements as well. Policing the project, yeah, we can certainly do that. Meets the objectives, sponsors, stakeholders, costings. Unclear requirements at day one, yeah. Yeah, we'll do a business case at the end of the project just to show we've done it. Is that the approach you like to take? It's not what Prince says. Project creep, yeah, scope creep. These are the diseases of project management. Well, I'm not too keen on these. Change and yeah, how do you manage change? Hit a moving target. The world changes rapidly. On a long project, you might end up with something that you never thought you would. Poor inputs, ambiguous questions. No clear direction, lack of motivation. Well, we can't do much about the lack of motivation in Prince. Well, I'll explain that later. Expectations are not dealt with effectively. Oh, that's a good one. Lack of communication. Do you have to actually talk to people? Gosh, that's a novelty. Yeah, to find out all the information about things. I don't know if there's any more coming up. Yeah, ownership. Yeah, who's responsible and accountable for which bit of the project. Lacking simplicity. That's a new one on me. It's not in the English dictionary, that one, but no doubt I'll talk about it. Yeah, you can combine all sorts of things with PRINCE2, Agile, Scrum, all those sort of things. I believe that projects could. Yeah. Yeah, need to be broken down into manageable chunks, so you do get everything right a bit at a time. When you got that bit right, move on to the next under an overall plan, of course. Yeah. So okay, look, that's sufficient for me to see what sort of feelings and thinking you have about the projects. They're all a good set of questions, those. So what I'm going to do now is progress on to another slide, which is my sort of view of the whole PRINCE method, all on one piece of paper. And then as I go through it, I'll explain to you the answers to a lot of the questions that you've asked, and I'll explain some of the pitfalls that you might experience but need to overcome when running projects. And of course, you all do it by using this PRINCE manual. Okay, Nadia's going to laugh now because mine's, you can see, it's actually falling apart.
Better days.
It's like me. It's seen much better days. And I must admit, I've got loads of notes in it. I've actually run PRINCE2 projects for a large corporate organisation in anger. And so I know what I'm talking about, and I've got a lot of anecdotal experience that I can pass on to you. But I do find the PRINCE2 method was very, very good, very detailed, but to the point, and I'll tell you how to implement it. So what we're going to do is a blank screen now, and a lot of you said about how do you measure the success of a project? Well, check that what you've delivered or the output of the project is actually what the customer wanted within the cost and time. So there's the famous triangle that some of you may have already seen, and there are generally three targets to aim for as you're a project manager. You've got to know what the deliverable, or what's called the output in Prince terms, is, and you've got to know that before you set out to create it. You've got to understand what the costs are of producing that output and the timescale in which it's going to be produced. Now, it's no use just guessing at these. These have to be defined clearly up front before you do any project work or planning or definition of what you're doing. So the output is what commonly called requirements, what PRINCE2 calls output, or what you might call deliverables. But it's no use having an ambiguous set of output or a woolly edge set of requirements. Those have to be precise. Now, as you go through a project, if the world changes and the output, the requirements change during the project, the output will be different as you go through, and the cost and time will vary according to what you're outputting. So what you have to do in Prince is to stipulate all these points on a document called a business case, which is the justification for running the project. And it also has at a high level all these figures in it. So it forms a sort of equation. So what you're outputting at a particular cost at a particular time must be documented well, so that if you then exceed any of those targets, you will know immediately and either take corrective action or, at the worst case, stop the project. And you've got the evidence to suggest why you need to do it. Now, a lot of this isn't done in many projects. However, when you define the output in Prince, we basically need to home in on what's its fitness for purpose, or what's commonly called quality. So the output to the desired level of quality at the right cost, at the right time, is what you're actually creating. And that has to be normally less than, or equal to, but mostly less than, the actual benefits that will accrue as a result of using the deliverable. So what we can say now is we've got a business case that outlines this. In maths it would be called an equation. And the right-hand side is the output, the cost and time to the right quality must be less than the business benefits that are projected to be achieved after the project's finished. If that's not the case, it's not profitable, so there's no use making this change unless it's a specific type of project called a loss leader. Now, you can look that up yourselves, but I'm going on to the standard approach on we're having a decent project, creating business benefits that, in quotes, outweigh the cost and timescale of producing something at the right quality. Now, something none of you mentioned in all your questions, which did surprise me, was risk. Now, risk is the uncertainty of getting things right or wrong, or occasions happening that you didn't plan for, or if you can foresee them, you've got to spend a lot of money out to eliminate the risk. So the cost will be also not only the cost of mitigating these risks, but also the cost of the resources to produce the output for the project. So the risks have to be documented up front as well. Now, in this document called the business case, we clearly state all those things I've shown you on the screen. We can then go ahead and plan our project according to that. And we'll know very precisely whether we're on target or not at any moment in time. So what I'm going to do now is draw a line underneath those. And now I'm going to demonstrate how you'll overcome all those problems you came up with and the measurements of success by the PRINCE method. So the first thing to do is put on the roles of the PRINCE2 project team. Now, the first thing is corporate or program management is considered in Prince terms is not part of the project management team, but is the level of management that mandates projects in an organisation. So senior management, if you like. And then below that, we have 3 levels of management to look after any PRINCE2 project management team. The top level is the project board, which consists of 3 roles. Now, the executive owns this document that we've got above the line called the business case, and the executive, together with the project manager, will create this right at the beginning of a project called starting up a project in Prince. That's before any planning's done at all. The executive is the key role on the project board and is in charge of the project. So he or she will have total direction of the project. So if the project fails, the rocket should land on the executive's head and not on the project manager's head, which it should be quite good news for you if you're in a failure situation. Now, the project board consists of these 3 roles. The customer, analogous to what's called the senior user, in Prince terms is the person who describes the output and defines the quality of the output and what it's all about. So in other words, they know what they want. So they're the customer who defines what they want and at the end of the project will pay for it. The executive role is normally a business representative from the senior user or customer's business area who will be impartial to the senior user but keep an eye on things and controlling the project. The senior supply role can be internal or external to your organisation, and the senior supply role will be accountable for providing and managing, not managing, but being accountable for the resources, both human and non-human, that the project manager needs once you get started on the work of the project. I'll talk about project assurance and change authority roles in a little while. Now, the project manager in Prince is the middle of the three layers of management, and the project manager runs the show on a day-to-day basis by giving team managers work packages of instructions that they will carry out. So the team managers are the subject matter experts that have the skills and knowledge to actually build the products that make up the output. Now you see there we've got project support. Now the project manager and team managers in Prince will have to do their own project support if you haven't got a specialist part of your organisation like a project office. So the incentive there is to set somebody up to do project support for all your projects, 2 or 3 people or up to 50 or 60 people depending on the size of the organisation. And the incentive to do that is that if it's not done, the project manager and the team managers have to do their own administration, which can detract from the actual amount of project managerial work that those people are doing. I'll explain project assurance and change authority in a few minutes. Now, the project board report to corporate or program management. The project manager reports to the project board and the team managers report directly to the project manager. So there's that escalation process. So in no way would the team managers report directly to the project board. Excuse me. Right, there are 3 levels of management in the PRINCE2 method, and those are of direction by the project board, day-to-day management by the project manager, and the delivery of products by, or the actual items of delivery by the team managers. Now, as I've said to you, the team managers report to the project manager and the project manager reports to the project board. One of the things in Prince is to make sure that the output at the right level of quality, to the right cost and to the right timescale is strictly adhered to so that you conform to your plans. If that's the case, the team managers and the project manager and the project board have to know very precisely what the levels of accountability and responsibility are. Sometimes you've got a problem as a project manager, for instance, and you might say, well, I better tell the executive because I think it's a bit outside my remit to make a decision on this. But the executive's saying, well, perhaps, well, you're the project manager, you're paid what you are for that, you get on with it. And then, of course, if things go right, that's okay. But if things go wrong, the executive might say, why didn't you tell me? I could have done this, blah, 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 blah. Or the project manager might feel a bit threatened if, things don't go well. So to overcome that, there's a major style of management in the Prince method. Okay. Now, it's governed by an enabler, a control called tolerance. Now, tolerance is not you putting up with me or that sort of thing. It's an allowance. Okay, I'll give you an example of it. In cost and time, they're the 2 main elements of tolerance. So say you've got a £100,000 project. Corporate management might say to the project board, as long as you plan to deliver it for this £100,000 within, say, 9 months, I'm just talking about the cost elements of the tolerance, but the same applies to time. You might say, okay, well, corporate managers are happy, so the project goes on a day-to-day basis, on a common sense basis and a practical nature. As long as you aim for the £100,000, I'm happy to accept plus or minus 10%. So 10% of 100 is £10,000. So as long as you come in at 90,000 to 110, but you're still aiming for the 100, we'll live with that. That'll be fine. So the project board executive knows they've got plus or minus 10k to play with. So at project level, that's the tolerance. And as long as things happen within that tolerance, things are fine. Now the executive might, with the project manager, will probably have broken the project down into a number of stages, because in Prince you have an overall high-level plan for the direction level of the project, and you have a stage plan for each stage of the project, because you break a project, as somebody said in one of the questions, you break the project down into a number of stages. You plan the next stage towards the end of the stage you're in, and only that one, and then you get the previous stage accepted, the next stage authorised, so that the amount of tolerance for that stage is then given to the project manager. Now, the project manager won't plan in detail all the other stages, because if things go wrong in this one, they'll have to amend all those. So we approach this by having what we call just-in-time planning. Now, the project manager might be running a stage. So say the executive knows, for instance, on our example of the 100,000, the project manager has 3 stages. So the executive might say, well, I'll split my plus or minus 10k of tolerance into 3. I'll give 3,000 plus or minus to each stage, and I'll keep £1,000 in my back pocket for emergency. So the project manager, starting off each separate stage, will then know that I've got plus or minus 3,000 with whatever the stage is aimed to do. So the project manager in a stage might have, say, 2 work packages. You've got 2 delivery products to make up the entire stage products as part of the output, and the team might have 2 team managers working for you. So you've got £3,000 to spend, or not to spend, but to give us tolerance at work package level. So the whole point is the project manager might say to each team manager, I'll give you whatever your cost and time for your particular work package is, I'll give you £1,000 each, and I'll keep £1,000 in my back pocket, like the executive, for emergency. Now this is all very well, but the whole point of tolerance is that is the enabler of the management style of this method called management by exception. So management by exception means if you are within your tolerance, what is the point of reporting that you're doing okay? There's no point to it whatsoever. It wastes the time. I mean, I've been on projects in the past and I've seen many in organisations, both in the private and public sector, where they have a weekly team meeting, have a monthly project meeting, and everybody goes to them, pats everybody on the back, and you're wasting half a day, and you paid a lot out of travel just to get them all together. Absolutely, to my mind, absolute waste of space. So we substitute 2 reports in Prince to overcome that. One of them is the checkpoint report, and typically weekly, team managers will send a single A4 sheet of paper, and the format of this report is in the Prince manual in Appendix A. Templates for all the documents are there, so you don't have to think about it, just fill it in, piece of cake. And then typically monthly, the project board will summate the information about the project's progress and write it in a similar highlight report. It's just the same as a checkpoint report, but it's monthly and at a higher level. And again, the highlight report, there's a template in the PRINCE2 manual to get the information. So all you have to do is look at the manual, fill in these reports. Now, typically, you can save an awful lot of time, because if you're within tolerance, you must be on target by definition. If you're on target, you don't have to report upwards that you are, other than the minor sort of comfort factors things that the next high level of management needs. Now, when an executive hands down a work package to a project manager at the end of every, when the executive hands a stage plan down to every project manager at the end of a current stage, and signs off the stage plan, the project manager and the executive know what's in the stage plan. And similarly, when a project manager hands a work package to a team manager, they both sign it, so they both understand and agree the work to be done. So if everybody is clear on what's going on, there's no need for all these meetings, because you've got the checkpoint reports and highlight reports coming upwards to keep the next high level of management fully informed of what's happening. Now, the only snag with this is if you hit a problem and one of your costs, your time or your output or the quality or risk creates a problem, it might force you to raise an exception. And that means that if you're forecast to exceed your tolerance, you will immediately go into exception processing, and the exception will go to the appropriate level of management until it can be met out of the tolerances. Now, I can't go into that in more detail on this short presentation to you, but that ensures that problems are dealt with as they happen, and progress can't go on until those are overcome. If they can't be overcome at the top level, you stop the project, because the equation at the top of the page won't make sense, because the cost, the time, or combination of those perhaps may be more than the cost that you're going to accrue from when you use the business benefits. And that means the project's not profitable. So it's best to stop a project that's out of kilter, say 3 months into a 12-month project, if you know you can't recover. We don't do this "I've started so I'll finish" type of principle. We just make sure that we've got a clear definition up front, we've got the right management processes in place to do all this. So on that basis, all the questions that you came up with, I think now have been answered, other than I did say before, I've mentioned the project assurance and the change authority role. Now, because we're working to exception processing, the highlight reports, say monthly from a project manager to the project board, it might be all sweetness and light and all good news, but down on the team manager level, things might be going askew. There might be technical difficulties that people are not sort of reporting upwards directly. So word on the street for the executive might be that things aren't going as well as I'm being reported to. So because you're managing by exception, you need somebody on behalf of the project board to take up the role of project assurance. And that role can check on anything that's going on in the project and report back to the executive, and the other project board members. On a very small project, the senior supplier, the executive, and the senior user will do their own project assurance. So that's necessary because of the nature of the style of management called management by exception. The change authority in most PRINCE projects is the executive role, him or herself. So if the users come to you and say, could you just change this, or could you just change that from the output or the requirements, it's normally up to the executive to say yes or no, depending on how you manage them. What would be the effect on cost and time scale? What would be the effect on the risk, the business benefits? And once you've taken a view of that, you'll either accept or reject the change. However, to make life easy, the project manager and team managers might experience very small changes. And it might be a waste of time going to the executive consistently for very minor changes. So the executive on the project could say to the change authority, i.e. the project manager in lots of cases, change it up to £500 or £1,000, just do them and report them in the highlight reports to me. I'll give you the authority to do that. So it makes life easy on a pragmatic basis. Okay? So that's as much as I want to say about the PRINCE2 method itself. I'm now going to summarise a lot of what I've said Oh, sorry, before we do that, you did see an arrow appear there, but now you don't. Okay. What I meant to ask you, I was going to say to you now, of the business case aspects at the top of a project, you've got the senior user or customer. What I want to know is on which bit of the business case would they concentrate? Now, obviously, you saw the arrow come up, and it's the output to the right level of quality. So the senior user in a Prince project is the senior person from the business area that is defining the output and then paying for it at the end of the project. So it's not the executive who pays or defines, it's the customer or senior user. Now, at the very beginning of a project, that is agreed. There's a process called starting up a project, and the output is defined on a project, on a form called the project product description. And it's at high level, and it's got the product defined at the appropriate level, and it's got the acceptance criteria the customer or senior user requires to test the acceptance of that output. That's done at the beginning of the project along with the business case. Now then, you can tell me now, the senior supplier, which areas of the business case would they be interested in? I'll just pause for a minute to let you think. You're all on your own there, but just see if you've got it right. Okay, so no shocks there. It should be the cost and time, because the senior supplier is accountable for the resources, both human and non-human, of the project. So they'll be able to tell you how much these resources cost and whether they can do the job in the right time. So the executive role wants to think now, which one piece of the business case at the top would they be interested in? Hope you all got this right. It's the business benefits. I've got it right, of course, because I'm here. Piece of cadence. Right, so the executive, sorry, I just lost my microphone. Just let me put that back on. So I hope you can still hear me. Yeah, we're okay. So the executive concentrates on the business benefits. So in other words, is it worth paying out over this timescale for this output at this quality and overcoming all these risks? The cost of that lot must be less than the business benefits. Otherwise, it's a non-profitable project. So it's not worth running. Okay, so that's all very clear. Now, all this stuff here that we can see is clearly defined in the PRINCE2 manual, and all the documents are in Appendix A at the back of the book, and it's all very clear for you. Right, I'll now look at how you use Prince and just go into some of the elements of what it's all about. It's coincidence, but it's happened to be based on 7 principles. Now, I equate those to seven common sense things of life. So I should ask you now, with all due respect, have you got a bit of common sense individually? I'm hoping that you have. If you have, you'll be okay as a project manager, because you need to bring common sense into your life. Okay, so you don't do it just because it says so in the book. You apply a bit of common sense to the project in order to run it. 7 themes. Now, themes in Prince are the areas of project management that you need to know about other than the method itself. So a bit about planning, a bit about risk analysis, a bit about configuration management, change management, all the rest of it. There's a chapter in the book called The Theme, and there are 7 of them. And then, like a cookery book that has recipes in it, it has a set of processes. So this basically, the project manual, Prince manual, is what I call the cookery book of project management. If you do things in the order you're supposed to do them and in the right sequence and at the right time, you'll come out with a successful project, just as you come out with a successful cake or a joint of meat after you've cooked it properly. Now, Prince2, as it says, is not concerned with what I call the touchy-feely bit of life. How good you are at managing people. You know, do you shout a lot or do you nurture people along? It's up to you how you get your project to work for you. So Prince2 deals with the principles, the common sense elements, the themes and the processes. So the project environment in Prince is simply built on these principles of common sense, and the 7 themes sit on top of those. Now, the business case theme is the most important because that's the justification with this equation in for running the project. The organisation is the team structure with a clear definition with the accountability and responsibility of each role. Again, that's in Appendix C of the manual for clarity. You've got progress, how do you monitor progress? You've got quality, which quality standards and which type of quality reviews do you experience when you're producing products and accepting them. All about change, plans and risk. There's a chapter in the book on each of those themes. But what people tend to forget in Prince is the last of those 4 bullet points you see on the screen, tailoring Prince2 to the project environment. Okay, now, I don't know if you just noticed, I've just had there's a spelling mistake on environment, but we'll pass over that. So tailoring Prince2 means that this method is so good that, I mean, our training covers all the elements of it, and you learn how to use all of it. But that will give you an informed decision on which parts of Prince you need to use for a particular project. So you can tailor the method to the size of the project. So you don't have to use everything there is in this book. On a very large project like BAE Systems creates our nuclear submarines, for instance, up in Barrow-in-Furness, and ILX Group have done lots of Prince2 training because they're run as Prince2 projects. And using a £200 or £300 million project, you'd expect to use all the detail of this book. But if you're painting a room or decorating a room, you'll probably get away with 2 or 3 documents and that's about it, but you still use the Prince method and the application of it to run the project and control it. So it's a very useful tool, very flexible, and it does work. Now the themes there, I've already gone over the titles to these themes, but there they are, and there's a chapter in each about, if you don't know about them, you can look them up. Then we've got the processes, like the cookery book, if you like, instructions for running projects. You'll notice the 3 levels of management are there, the project board for directing, project manager for managing, and the team managers for delivering. The only process is SU, which is startup, that is jointly done between the project manager and the project board. Other than that, different people, and obviously the project manager, the person who's running the show on a day-to-day basis, there's a lot more to do. So you own many more of the processes. IP is initiation, where you plan the project in detail, and at the end of IP you manage the stage boundary, SB. You then initiate a whole series of delivery stages with the process controlling a stage, and that's where you break a project down into a number of stages. So you do it a bit at a time and get it right, and then do the next bit under the umbrella of an overall project plan which directly relates to the business case. At the end of each controlling a stage, you manage the stage boundary until you come to the very end where you close the project. At the delivery level, as a team manager, you're accepting work packages during each stage from the project manager. The project manager will give you a work package with its appropriate tolerance for you to get on with life and produce the product or products that are in the business case, that are in the work package. And once you've done that, you'll then quality review them, make sure they're correct, and then give them back to the project manager for configuration control. Towards the end of the project manager in the final stage will normally bring the whole lot together and do some overall testing to make sure the acceptance criteria that was stated in the business case is in fact achieved. And that takes you right through the project from left to right, the time scale. So I'll now conclude my rather rapid view of Prince2 and the insight into it. And the benefits of Prince, I won't go over each of these, but I'll bring what I think are the most important out. First of all, it's focus on the business case. Let's see what we've got to produce, and based on management by exception, we'll put all our effort into getting the job done rather than the administration of form filling in, etc. I would take the most lean approach to getting the job done. Explicit recognition of responsibilities is another one that I would state is important, because then everybody knows who is doing what and who is accountable and responsible for each area of the project. So those are the benefits of PRINCE2. Now, the benefits for an organisation of using PRINCE2, I mean, obviously it's a repeatable and teachable method. In fact, worldwide now, PRINCE2 has become the de facto standard in the, well, Australia, New Zealand, the Arab states, Canada, America, Africa, as well as China. We've actually had the manual now produced in Mandarin so that the Chinese people can understand it and use our method. And this is very good because it's British-led, and it was written 30 odd years ago, so it's got a good track record of both good and bad projects built into this to make sure it's it's spot on. So everybody knows what to expect, where, how and when, and because we're managing by exception, we've got early warning of problems. I mean, what more could you want? Basically running PRINCE2, as I say, it must be a piece of cake, although I do understand one or two projects don't go as expected. Okay? So I'll finish off now with the question that I think is not why use PRINCE2, but why are you not using PRINCE2 because of all those benefits? So I'll leave you with that in your minds now, and I'll now pass you back to Nadia here, who's going to explain about the training that we do for you. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, right, I'm just going to run through now with you the PRINCE2 qualification accreditation, the structure and the training options that we at the ILX group provide. Just to run through a few PRINCE2 exam facts with you first of all. Every year there are around 1 million PRINCE2 exams taken. You will find, for those of you that are looking to start out a new career in project management, or maybe for those of you that have been project managers for a number of years but are looking to move into new companies and for other job roles, that the PRINCE2 accreditation is required on your CV before you're actually considered for interviews these days. It's growing year on year by 25%, and it's they operate around 1,500 to 2,000 PRINCE2 exams per week. So here is just an example of the advanced training pyramid. So at the bottom you can see that there's techniques or how-to project management essentials, courses such as the APM introductory certificate. In the middle there you'll see the PRINCE2 Foundation and Practitioner, so that's the method of what's needed, when and why for a single project. And then at the top there you'll see there's MSP, Managing Successful Programs. Now for that particular course there is the Foundation, Practitioner and the Advanced Practitioner training. Okay, so PRINCE2 Foundation, so who is this for? So that is for anyone looking to start a project management career. So it's obviously for project managers, project support team, team managers and also the admin team as well. Now there aren't actually any prerequisites in order to complete the PRINCE2 Foundation course, although it is advisable that each individual has a basic knowledge on the skills and techniques within project management. Now the learning time, if you were to go for an online training course, the course itself only really takes approximately 8 hours to complete. Then when it comes to the examination, the exam is 1 hour and there's 75 multiple choice questions, and as you can see there it's just a 50% pass mark required in order to pass. And with the online training we do also provide you with access to a mock exam simulator which has been put together using previous exam questions, and there's a whole bank of questions within the simulator. So the PRINCE2 Practitioner, so again that is for the project managers and team managers. Now the prerequisite, now we get asked this question a lot, is that you must actually have to complete the PRINCE2 Foundation course before you're able to move on to the practitioner element. Now via e-learning, the course takes approximately 25 hours to complete, but we do also provide both the foundation and practitioner training in a classroom environment as well. So the exam details, as you see, it's slightly longer than the PRINCE2 Foundation exam. It's a 2.5-hour exam, and it's 8 multiple choice questions based on objective testing. Now the PRINCE2 Practitioner exam is also open book, so you are required to take a copy of the PRINCE2 manual into the exam with you. And as you can see again, it's a 55% pass mark required in order to get a pass. So the courses that we have available here at the ILEX group, now we do offer the PRINCE2 Foundation and Practitioner courses. You can either do them separately or you can combine them, and the e-learning courses start from £315. Now if you aren't that self-disciplined and learn better within a classroom environment, then we do have a number of classroom locations throughout the UK, in London, Leeds, Bracknell, Birmingham, Nantwich, Bristol, Manchester, Aberdeen and Newcastle. We do also have a location in Glasgow as well. Now if you were to complete the course via the online training, we would give you a 12-month licence to the online training portal, and within that time you are required to complete all of the course content and also sit the exams. Then when it actually comes to sitting the examination, you do have the flexibility these days to actually sit the exam online, or alternatively we do have a number of exam centres located again throughout the UK. Now we are running a little short on time at the moment, but the online training, and we do have digital learning demos, so if any of you would like to have a look at the demonstration, please do feel free to drop me an email. You will see my email address at the end, and I'll be more than happy to send you a link out to the demo. But as a thank you for attending today's PRINCE2 webinar, we do have an exclusive offer for you. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, it was Black Friday last week, and we did actually run our own campaign for the PRINCE2 training, and we were actually offering 3 months access to a foundation or practitioner course of your choice for £99 plus VAT. Now, as you have taken the time out of your day to attend the webinar, we are extending this promotion for you, and if you wanted to take advantage, you can either go straight onto our website and purchase online by selecting the online only courses and just entering the discount code Black Friday, or alternatively you can give myself or a member of the team a call here, and you can see the phone number just below. Or if you have any other questions or queries, or if you'd like any information on classroom training at all, then please do feel free to send me an email. If you don't have the chance to write the email address down, just to let you know, this webinar is being recorded, so we will send you a recording link tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to get the email address from there. So, are there any questions? And for this bit, I'm going to pass you back to Sue, because I'm sure you're all dying to ask me some questions. Question at the end there, does the offer include the exam? It doesn't. The £99 promotion will just provide you with the online training, access to the exam simulator and tutor support. The exam fees are at an extra cost. If you want to send me an email, Anna, I can forward you over some more information.
The third from bottom. Does the offer include, does the offer for online and classroom, the price is the same, is it?
The prices, no, the prices vary. For the online training, there's a number of options that you can go for. So for example, you can just purchase the online course to begin with, and then just come back and complete the exams as and when you're ready. The classroom courses, they vary dependent upon location, but please do feel free, if you'd like any more information, just send me an email and I'll be more than happy to discuss it further with you.
There's another question there. It says 8 questions for practitioner. Obviously there are 75 questions for the foundation course. There are 8 main questions, and the practitioner exam is based on a project scenario, and for each section of the 8 there are 10 sub-questions which all take a bit of time to think through. So you've got 80 separate questions. You've got to score 55% of those to get it right. But there's information in the exam about a project scenario, and all your questions will be based on running that project as a project manager. But you will take in your PRINCE manual to the exam as an open book exam, so you'll be able to look at that as reference to make sure you get the right answers. Okay. You can complete both exams online. I know that for a fact. Well, whoever asked that, Clara.
At the bottom there, is there a recognised certificated award on successful completion of the course and exam?
Well, you get the exam certification. You get an electronic certificate once you've passed either the foundation or the practitioner exam. Now, it's a useful thing as well. The APM group actually run a database that shows the date on which you passed each. Unfortunately, the practitioner exam, if you pass that, say today, in 5 years' time, you'll be expected to renew that, but you'll do a 1 hour exam to prove that you're still au fait with the current method in the manual that's applicable at that time. So your certification in practitioner level lasts 5 years, and then it doesn't cease, but people will know you're out of date from that unless you renew your certification. The foundation certification lasts for a lifetime, so you don't have to do that once. I'm just trying to see if there are any further questions that Nadia and I need to answer. I think we've answered most of them.
There's a question about another webinar, the 17th. I'll just answer that.
Yeah.
I can see that there's been a question about the other webinar that we have advertised on our website for the 17th of December. It is an insight into PRINCE2. That webinar will actually talk you through how to maximise and get the benefits from your e-learning portal. So if you did decide after today that you were going to go ahead with the PRINCE2 training via e-learning, that public webinar is there to help you learn about the features and functions and how to get the benefits from the online training. And I can see there's a question there at the bottom for somebody that's based in Nigeria. Unfortunately, we don't currently provide classroom training in Nigeria, but we do offer e-learning, or if you do have a large number of delegates who are looking to complete the course, then we can certainly look at arranging an in-house course for you.
If I just interrupt, Nadia, there's another question about 2009. It sounds a long time ago. This is the 2009 PRINCE2 version. It's just that we've had many rewrites of the manual since then. But the reason that 2009, it went from a quite complicated book to this much more user-friendly double column method of presentation in the book. So even though it says 2009, if you look at the ISBN number at the bottom of the front page, you'll see which version you've got. So don't worry about that. That's a red herring, if you like. I think that's about it as far as I'm concerned.
How can we take the exams in? Okay, I can see a question there from Luke here about taking the examinations in Greece. You are actually able now to sit the examinations online, so you can sit them online worldwide, regardless of whereabouts you may be. Our accreditors, PeopleCert, do actually operate the exams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week within 20-minute intervals, so there'll always be a time and date convenient for yourself.
There's another question, I won't read it all out, but the difference between foundation and practitioner level courses, sum that up very quickly. Foundation level courses look at all the different bits of detail in this manual and ask you about individual pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, if you like. The practitioner level courses in question, you take through your common sense this in entirety and apply it to the project scenario. So it's not like in my day it used to be O and A levels you sat at school, where O levels is that much information, A levels is this much, then you got to university, you did a whole load more. It doesn't work that way. That's the content of the foundation test or exam, and then you apply that at practitioner level. So there's no further learning after the foundation level course. You've got all the knowledge that you'll need, and you just refer to this manual to do the practitioner level questions and answers. Okay. Oh, Agile and PRINCE2, yeah. We've got PRINCE2 for Agile as well. If you look at our website, there's a good explanation of the courses there. It's not unlike just the controlling method of an agile project. You can use PRINCE2. It almost equates to stages.
Charlene, at the moment we don't actually offer payment plans, I'm afraid, but if you want to send me an email and just detailing which course it is that you're looking to do, it would be foundation, practitioner or combined, and we can correspond that way to the best deals that we have at the moment.
Somebody's asked also, is there a PRINCE3 version of the manual coming out? Well, no, there will never be another one other than PRINCE2. The reason it went from Prince to PRINCE2 is Prince itself was a IT-based project management method, and when it went generic to include all types of projects, it went to PRINCE2. So it'll just be rewrites of the PRINCE2 method to even further streamline what's going on in here. So it'll always be called PRINCE2 from now, if you like, to eternity. Okay? I can't see any other questions that we've not addressed.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us today, and if you do have any further questions or queries, if you did manage to note down my email address, then feel free to drop me an email, or alternatively you can contact our customer engagement team, who will forward the emails on to myself, and that email address is a little bit easier to remember rather than my name, and that email address is contactus@ilxgroup.com. That's contactus@ilxgroup.com. But thank you very much for joining us today, and the recording will be sent out to you via email tomorrow, so I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
I hope to see you on 1 or 2 of our courses, okay, if you're not doing it online. Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Cheers.